We have some CNN exclusive breaking news for you right now on the Russia investigation and the question of whether the Trump team has been disclosing the whole truth about that June 2016 meeting that Donald Trump Jr. helped set up between the campaign and a woman he had been told was a Russian lawyer promising incriminating information about Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump Jr. testified before the House Intelligence Committee all day yesterday, where, among other questions, he was asked more about what was discussed at that meeting, CNN has learned. And as you may recall, Trump Jr. set up the meeting after receiving an email from music publicist Rob Goldstone, who works for a Russian pop star. The June 9th meeting was attended by Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and campaign chair Paul Manafort in 2016. But after the public learned about this meeting earlier this year, which the Trump team had hidden from the American people for more than a year, Team Trump attempted to downplay it. First, they lied about what the meeting was about. Then they claimed nothing happened at all at the meeting.
There wasn't really follow-up because there's nothing there to follow up. But as we were walking out, he said, listen, I'm sorry for that.
There wasn't really follow-up. There was nothing there, Donald Trump Jr. said, but CNN has learned there were follow-up communications. CNN is reporting this right now, ones that congressional investigators are exploring to determine whether there was more to that June 9th, 2016 meeting at Trump Tower than has been disclosed. I want to bring in CNN's Jim Sciutto and Manu Raju on the Hill. They're breaking the story right now. Jim, to you first. Tell us more about what you're learning. What was this follow-up communication from that meeting?
So headline here that these are previously undisclosed emails. They show that there were some follow-up communications about that meeting between some of the participants in that meeting, specifically the British publicist who arranged that June 2016 meeting. His name, Rob Goldstone, as Jake was saying there, sent multiple emails both to a Russian participant and to a member of Donald Trump's inner circle. And this is according to multiple sources who have read these emails, telling my colleague Manu Raju, Jeremy Herb, and I. The emails raising new questions for congressional investigators, both regarding what was discussed at that meeting at Trump Tower, the subject of the conversations, as well as what communications there were in the days and weeks following that meeting. As Jake was saying, Trump Jr. has for months contended that after being promised he would get dirt on Hillary Clinton in Trump Tower, the brief meeting focused almost exclusively on the issue of Russian adoption, saying that there was no discussion with the participants after that session, no discussion at all. The emails were raised at Wednesday's classified hearing with Trump Jr. He told congressional investigators that he could not recall those interactions, several sources tell us. I should also note that the White House has declined to comment for this story, as did Rob Goldstone's lawyer.
And Manu, what specifically did the emails say?
Well, one of these emails, Jake, discusses a topic that we have actually not heard discussed before. The email actually from Goldstone to the senior Trump campaign aide, Dan Scavino, who's actually now one of President Trump's closest aides. And in this email from Goldstone, it encourages Scavino to convince then candidate Trump to create a page on the Russian social media site VK. And now he says, Goldstone says in this email that, quote, Don and Paul were on board with this idea. Now, that's a reference to Donald Trump Jr. and Paul Manafort. Now, what we have now learning from our sources is that this was broached at that June 2016 meeting. At the end of this meeting, Goldstone brought this up to both Paul Manafort and Donald Trump Jr., and that's the first time we're hearing about anything beyond this issue of adoptions being discussed at this meeting. Now, Jake, one source who is familiar with this situation says that Goldstone proposed this as a, quote, cute marketing idea. He said that it was simply an effort to try to appease a friend, an acquaintance at a Russian social media site. We have not been able to determine at CNN whether or not there was any page set up on that site, VK. But Jake, Goldstone pushed this idea with some of the more senior members of the Trump campaign after the meeting, Jake.
Okay, so that's one of the follow-ups. And Jim, you were telling me one of the emails also references the DNC hack?
It does. Listen to this. This was an email that was dated June 14th, 2016, just 5 days after that Trump Tower meeting. And in it, Goldstone forwarded a story actually from CNN on Russia's hacking of DNC emails to his client, Russian pop star Emin Agalarov and Ike Kavaladze, who both attended that meeting. They were in that room in June 2016, and he described that news, again, a CNN story of the just revealed news that Russia had hacked the DNC. He described that news to those Russians as, quote, eerily weird, given what they had discussed at Trump Tower 5 days earlier. Now, we reached out One of the sources familiar with the content of the email downplayed that interaction, saying that news of the DNC hack was surprising because in the run-up to the Trump Tower meeting, the Russian participants had promised information on illicit funding of the DNC from Russia. But that dirt was not provided to Trump Jr., Kushner, and Manafort during the meeting. I should also add that Scott Balber, he's an attorney for Kavaladze, one of the other people on the other end of this email. He confirms that his client did receive that email, that forwarded CNN story on the DNC Russia hack, but viewed it as odd only because hacking was never discussed in that meeting there. That's the story that they have in response.
And Manu, Goldstone's going to be interviewed. Presumably he's going to be asked about this.
No question about it. We do expect him on Capitol Hill as soon as next week. Both the House and Senate Intelligence Committees do want to talk to him about his account of the meeting. And no question, these emails will be a focus as well, Jake.